Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Mick Alfany. So we're going to jump right in with a little bit of XRP news. There's a lot going on. There's chapters in this video. If you want to jump around, you can. All right. Also, if you enjoy this video, I would humbly ask and greatly appreciate if you hit that little like button, and thank you in advance. So this tweet here is from Cindy Young. Pay close attention to what she's saying. And it goes as such. Honored to facilitate this interesting discussion with our customers and partners on use of blockchain and digital assets and cross-border payments at Ripple. Now, I want to add something there. This is no different than when Quant went to CBOS, all right? Or when any Davos takes place. There are a lot of potential customers there, and there are a lot of potential partners. That's what this is really about. It's not just about customers and partners. We're already working with them. They know how great we are. It's about those in attendance who are not customers, those in attendance who are not partners. Ripple's doing everything that they can to bring them in. Now, that's going to lead us to another bit of information later where Brad Garlinghouse himself is letting people know. Listen, he lets them know at RippleSwell, we're about to double our efforts. Can you even imagine? I mean, on-demand liquidity has exploded. Ripple's business has exploded this year. Can you imagine if they double their effort? But see, this is what I love about Ripple and what they're doing with XRP. This is what I love about the potentiality of XRP, because someone building on XRPL like Ripple is such as Ripple is so hungry. You need companies with fire in their bellies. That's where the big money comes from. But anyway, but there is major happenings going on at RippleSwell, and it has kicked off very smoothly. I'm loving what's going on. Let's move on to another tweet here so far. OK, so far, we have Cindy Young roaring, and then we have Brad Garlinghouse here. Let's read this little tidbit. It says, quote, over 10 years now, Ripple has been at the crux. That words are important. At the crux between enterprises and crypto native services. They're telling people, listen, we're the most important part here. We're the most important bank coin. We're laying all the tracks. We're doing the most work when it comes to the banks. All right. Personally, I believe all the bank coins are doing a fantastic job. Algorand's doing fantastic. Stellar, Hedera, everyone's doing a great job. But Ripple has that fire to take trillions. They want the trillions. They want the quadrillions. They're going after it. They're not going to downplay their native token. They're embracing it, if anything. Even though at this current time, they hold less than half of the supply of XRP. At least that's what they reported recently. But let's continue on here. It says, has been at the crux between enterprises and crypto native services. And we are doubling down on that. Doubling down. Ripple, keep doing a great job. I'm so ready for this case to be over. My goodness. Then if you look at the chart they're showing, look at the chart. Look at what we've done. And yet almost none of it is in the United States. Look at how much, once this SEC case is over, look at how much of the United States is still up for grabs. We will dominate. We will take all of that value that we can. I'm trying to stay within reason, but we all know what Ripple can do. We all know what XRP can do. And they literally, listen, hear me well. They literally need us. There are problems. I'm just going to say that. All right. I'm just going to say that. This is at Brad Garlinghouse addressed the RippleSwell global audience today, noting successes over the past decade and promising a robust future ahead. I agree 100%. Thank goodness they patented on-demand liquidity, because I'm telling you now, the world, not just the United States, but they definitely do with their $30 trillion of debt and the death of the petrodollar at hand. Listen, they're going to need liquidity. They didn't have to worry about this massive debt when the whole world is using the dollar as a reserve currency. So if you don't have to worry about your own debt, if the whole world is using your currency and you don't have to pay yourself, something like that. Do your research on that, okay? And you can come up with your own interpretations if I wasn't so eloquent about saying that. But when the dollar is no longer the world reserve currency, then yes, that debt is going to be devastating. They're going to need us to survive. I told you this a long time ago, and now you're seeing it rear its ugly head. Let's continue on here. I'm trying not to say too much. I'm saving it for members only video. Now, let's continue on here. This is an article and it says, Ripple CEO suggests FTX was fraudulent. This is Brad Garlinghouse. Brad Garlinghouse has been roaring as of late, just like Donnell Dixon of Stellar has been roaring as of late. And we're going to get into a little bit of Hedera news soon, and you'll see that Lehman Baird has been roaring. What did I say in the last video? The Bankcoin family, we're not those other crypto. We're not them. How dare you put them near us? We're in a class of our own. You have to carry yourself like that. You have to know that this is a time of war. We're not going to be drugged down because there are other non-utility coins, non-bank coins doing certain activities that have nothing to do with us. We don't need to answer for them. We're not going to answer for them. We're not going to be dragged down by them who have nothing to do with us. And that's why they all have been roaring. But I roared first, though, to be honest. I roared in that video yesterday and a few other videos. Now you have Brad Garlinghouse, Donnell Dixon, Lehman Baird of Hedera, all screaming from the mountaintops, hey, we're different. We're compliant. We have utility. We've been building. We are going to take over. Lehman Baird literally says that. We'll get into that in a little bit. There's been a lot of things going on as of late. It's all very good. So now here, let's read this little tidbit. It says, Ripple executives explain that the crypto industry is currently in its formative stage, which is why it attracts all kinds of people, including crooks. Oh, firing some shots. Quote, crypto has never been sunshine and roses. This is why Brad Garlinghouse sounds a lot like Alphanine. Haven't I been saying that? Like, these people act like we've never had bloody markets or never had bad things going on. This happens across the board in all different markets. But yeah, it's never been sunshine and roses. Continue on, Mr. Garlinghouse. I think crypto as an industry needs to mature. I agree. He has stressed that Ripple is, quote, extremely transparent. They are. How many times did they have to sit down with the SEC? But it doesn't matter, because as you found out from Coinbase and LBRY and all these other ones who went knocking on the SEC's door, it doesn't matter how transparent you are, they're going to stab you in the back anyway. But there's a lot of suspicious activity at the SEC lately. We'll get into that also. Oh, yes, people are finally, listen, I'm so happy about this. People are finally taking a fighting posture, and they're finally holding these individuals accountable. Yes, yes, yes. Hold those people accountable, because they definitely will hold you accountable. Rules for me and none for thee? No longer. No, because the Bankcoin family has been fighting back. Let's continue on here. It says, Ripple has been extremely, quote, extremely transparent, even though it is not regulated as a public company. Speaking of the high profile legal battle, we don't need to go into that. Let's continue on here. Here's another article, and it's titled, XRP trading volume surpasses its 18 billion market cap. What caused the anomaly? There have been a lot of strange anomalies with XRP. Has it not? There's a reason for that. It's not happening with anything else. Just XRP. Why? There's always the why, right? You have to start off with the why. But let's read this little tidbit here. XRP has seen abnormal trading volumes. Is it abnormal? You sure about that? Exceeding the current market capitalization of cryptocurrencies by 33%. With the combined value of all XRPs at 18.56 billion, trading volume in the last 7 days is 25 billion. What do you think is going on here? Let me know in the comment section. What do you think is going on here? I know what I think is going on here. Similar figures among the top 10 largest cryptocurrencies by market cap can only be noted for stable coins USDT and BUSD. The reason, they're going to give their reason. The reason for the anomalous behavior of XRP trading volumes over time is probably, which means this is theoretical, but I love how they put the reason for as though this is a statement that this is a fact. No, but only to follow it later with probably, which means that you're not sure that this is factual. This is your opinion. Let's make that very clear so that everyone, wherever you are, can have your own opinion based on your own logic and your own findings. All right? I don't like this. I feel like when people word things in this particular way, they're trying to rob the people of different pathways of thinking. I do feel that way. They're trying to control the narrative. They're trying to control how you think. And I don't like that. I like to have my own thoughts. And such is the saying, being fair, I believe you should have your own thoughts as well. So I try to be careful when I see someone word something like this, only to follow it by probably. So let's continue on. It says, is probably because the token is actively used by crypto company Ripple in its ODL operations, roughly speaking, as fuel for the technology, of course. So you see, like, anyway, I'm not going to even go there because so many people still say, well, yeah, let's not even discuss XRP and its use and how it's going to be utilized in conjunction with the patent for on-demand liquidity. Let's continue forward here. So according to recent reports, the company has seen an increase in ODL usage, both because the business of old partners is growing and because new ones are joining. Yes, yes, yes. It's looking good, is it not? It's looking very good. We're winning the SEC case. ODL is exploding. The use of XRP is expanding. The use case of XRP is expanding, especially with the advent of all of these different ways you can use NFTs. It's going great. And we're getting closer and closer to that generational wealth. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. All right. Okay. You make your own decisions. All right. All right. Okay. Let's continue on here. So then we have more huge. Every day we're reporting on huge activity when it comes to XRP. And once more, I say, why? Causation, cause and effect. These are the effects. What is the cause? The cause has to be because everyone knows that the time is almost at hand for the flipping of the switch, for the banks to step in. The banks know that. They want it badly. This is why they have been pushing for certain regulatory activities. So then we have this tweet here from Algorand. Algorand retweeted this. Of course, you know that Planet Watch, we've covered them before. Planet Watch is built on Algorand. And here they have an update. It says, no more waiting, diamond hands. Interesting. It's time to cut right to the chase. In our latest blog, we discussed the big token model improvement proposal we've been hinting at. So they've done a lot of updates, right? Then also what they're doing, they're burning a ton of their coins. They're ramping up incentives. See, with this whole green thing, they're going to incentivize not only individuals, but companies to report what's going on with their carbon usage and different things that's going on with the environment, that the effects they have on the environment. They're going to be incentivizing that, right? Monetarily. This is what I'm reading. Now, I always like to throw out there, it's my theory that they're going to be taxing people over these types of offerings, that they're going to be collecting revenue over these offerings. That's a lot of value that's going to be flowing across the bank coins, in my humble opinion, the bank coin DLTs, because of carbon tracking, carbon tracing, fines. There's going to be massive fines for companies that are just going to pay the fine because they must continue business as is. They cannot move to a new model, but they don't want to cease to exist. They still want to be able to make the capital that they have been bringing in for decades through their duration of being a business. So that's going to be a lot of capital flowing across these blockchains. So this is something I keep my eye on. So then there is a tweet from the HBAR Foundation. And if you watch this video, actually, go to HBAR Foundation at HBAR_foundation on Twitter. You can watch this video there. Lehman Baird is telling the people that the distributed ledger technologies have been in use. They have the best use cases. The financial industry needs the DLTs, needs the distributed ledger technologies. I like to hear this. I like to see this. Hedera has a fire in their belly. They've been bringing in more council members. They have a firm backing. They've been tested by the banks, and they've been ramping everything up. So I'm very excited to see what's going to be happening in the future, in the next bull run with HBAR, when there's mass adoption, regulatory clarity. I think that they will spread very rapidly when there's regulatory clarity, if we can ever get it. But if we can get it, because of their backing, Google, Boeing, FIS, my goodness, I believe that the deployment of Hedera offerings will be massive in the future. This is just my opinion, but we'll keep an eye on this, and we'll see how that pans out. Let's continue on here. So I was saying this the other day, just going off the individual articles that we've been covering over the last year or so, that it seems like anybody who came to the SEC was immediately punished. So there's like, what's the point? Then they don't even know what to comply with. We've read this from Ripple. We've read this from Coinbase. We read this from LBRY and a myriad of other companies. It's the same story. So now you have to begin to question why. And then they did uncover, there's an article I have somewhere up here. I don't know if I can find it right now, but they did uncover that Gary Gensler apparently, oh, and actually that leads us to this next article. I do have it. Let's go to this next article, and it's titled, Crypto Community Calls for Congressional Probe into SEC Gary Gensler's Ties to Bankrupt FTX. So many pieces of the puzzle are beginning to come together. My goodness. Let's read this little tidbit. So I'm going to let them tell it, right? So says Gensler's relationship with FTX looks like it was far from casual. This explains a lot if you understand what Sam Bankman-Fried was trying to do, and it was not good. I'll leave it at that. All right, I'll leave it at that. The crypto community wants a congressional investigation into SEC Chairman Gary Gensler's ties with FTX and its officials. Legal news publication, Crypto Law, so this is reputable, all right, announced in a Tuesday tweet that it had enabled the delivery of more than 9,000. Yes, Bankcoin people, you are my. We have been the greatest of warriors I think we've seen in a long time in the world. I want to applaud every single one of you out there. You've been fighting. You've been doing your job. You've been sending letters for a long time. Since I've been on this channel, I know. Sending letters, making phone calls, emails. I've been doing the same. I appreciate every single one of you. No matter how this turns out, you have fought valiantly. I just want to give you my humble respect. Let's get back to this. It says, it had enabled the delivery of more than 9,000 letters to Congress asking for a probe into Gensler's relationship with the cornered crypto exchange. The petition indicates that there's evidence Sam Bankman-Fried, who masterminded the exchange before its downfall last week, met with Gensler. Can we get is there a transcript? Don't they have to document those meetings? It was on the books, wasn't it? So we should be able to get a document. Of course, I know the SEC will try to redact everything in there. It's a matter of whether the judge allows that or not. But it's something that I'm keeping in mind. If we can get our hands on that paperwork without too many redactions, we can begin to uncover something. I think we have something to go on here. I'll just phrase it that way to play it a little bit safe. Gensler indeed met with Bankman-Fried and two other FTX officers in March, according to SEC documents. In the meeting, the group examined the risks associated with the custody of digital asset securities. Wait a minute. Where are you getting this information from? Number one, I'd like to read the documents myself. I'd like to read that information myself, as well as everyone out there, I believe, would like to see it with their own eyes. We are researchers here. We're not just going to go off of who's writing this article. Why should we trust you? Like, you get what I'm saying? We like to know for ourselves if that's possible. But obviously, they're getting this from somewhere. Let's continue to read this. It says, in the meeting, the group examined the risks associated with the custody of digital asset securities. Once more, I want to iterate, I'm very careful when it seems like people are giving me information without it being verified, right? I can't read the documents myself because I don't want someone controlling where my mind is going and what pathways my thinking can take. I'd like to read those documents myself and decide for myself, and I think my viewers would as well. And I think we will get those documents, and then we can we'll be able to deduce with our own reason what was going on here, as we always do in the Bankcoin family, and we've done very well. Let's continue on here. It says, most importantly, the memos of the meeting highlight, quote, conditional no action relief. What? Wait a minute. The conditional no action relief is a quote. Who are you quoting? Where's this coming from? Quote, a mechanism that allows registrants to obtain certain assurances when their conduct may touch upon a gray area of regulation. What? Or am I reading this right? Does this sound? Let me continue. Or even may be technically prescribed, but does not raise the policy concerns underlying a particular rule. Yeah, this is going to have to be looked into. Still, there's no proof. What? After saying all of that, then you write this. Still, there's no proof that FTX was given this consideration. Yep, sure. Because they just had this meeting and talked about this allegedly. I mean, I don't know where you're getting this information from. They did all of that just to play patty cake afterwards, right? Okay. Some crypto, and this is why we need to have them looked into, which I'm assuming hopefully is going to happen. Hopefully. Some crypto pundits have observed that the relationship between FTX and Gensler goes beyond the meetings that they had. Oh, is that so? Gensler, Mr. Gensler, getting closer and closer to victory over you. We all are. Yes. You've been a worthy opponent. You continue to fight. But I will relish this victory. Yeah. Crushing you under our feet is what happens to opponents. No mercy for the enemy. No mercy for the opponents. So yes, this is quite delicious. Notably, don't worry, Mr. Gensler's a big boy. Don't worry. He can handle himself. This is a fight. You're going to get hit in the face sooner or later. We've taken our hits. You're going to take yours. Notably, FTX US's general counsel previously served as what? Gensler's lead counsel. You don't see a conflict of interest here? There's a case here. I'm not a lawyer. I don't proclaim to be. I think logically, there's a case here. This is a huge conflict of interest. Holy smokes. Let me read it again. Notably, FTX U.S. General Counsel previously served as Gensler's lead counsel while he was at the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Wow. This is a bombshell if I've ever heard one. Now it's all making sense. It's all making sense. I know you all are privy to what Sam Bankman-Fried wanted to do and just take over everything, centralize everything. And the way that individual was going about these things was absolutely not good. I'll say it like that, right? Then put those puzzle pieces together with how Congress was behaving. You see how many different political figures Sam Bankman-Fried allegedly funded and gave money to. Then you have these ties here with Gary Gensler. A lot of things are starting to make sense. If what they're putting out here, and this is coming from legal sources, okay, so it's reputable, but if what they're saying is correct, holy smokes. And that means victory is close at hand for us. Now, let's continue on here. Okay. So this article is titled, U.S. launches POC project to study scope of virtual money platforms. Let's read this little tidbit here because I think there's some differentiation between this and what we were discussing the other day. On Tuesday, the U.S. banking community members announced the rolling out of a proof of concept project as per the official statement. The project will closely study the viability of an interoperable virtual money platform known as the Regulated Liability Network, the RLN. So this is different. They're ramping up their efforts to go into the DLT spaces. They're going to need us. And who is assisting them with this? When you're talking about the Fed, of course, you have Ripple, because they're on the Faster Payments Council. They're on the Faster Payments Task Force. They're assisting with the digital dollar. Hedera is also there assisting with the digital dollar, which means that if they're assisting with that, it's not too far out to go on to, it's not that far to go out on a limb and say that they're receiving a lot of information just on the infrastructures, how to set up these particular infrastructures. We also know that the Fed has close ties with MIT, who is utilizing the knowledge of who? Algorand, right? Also Made in Labs, Made in Labs is right there with MIT's research department. And so now they have also been working for quite some time with Algorand as well. Now, so let's continue on here. The money platform will deploy distributed ledger technology for creating innovative opportunities. Where do they get the liquidity from? Like I said, there's a massive problem. It's beginning to be discussed at high levels. If you've been reading a lot of articles, you've been seeing it. Where do they get the liquidity? And if they get it from what we hold, then I believe that they will. What does it do to that price? Let's continue on here. The platform would further improve financial settlements and also let central banks, large scale or small scale commercial banks, and regulated non-banking entities. They're even bringing in the non-banking entities. They're not leaving any money off the table. Didn't I tell you they want that money? I told you. And regulated non-banking entities to proactively participate in the process. The POC project will run for 12 weeks and abide by the current regulatory guidelines. Okay, so we'll keep up to date with this. The project will test a version of the RLN design operating solely in USD with commercial banks generating simulated virtual money. That's another issue. I'm saving a lot for this next members only video, but they have another major problem. Have you been reading the documents? It's beautiful. They can't get around a certain thing that we can do with ease. And that's how you know. If you understand what we do as bank coins, the best, like what our best aspects are, they can't get around one of the problems. They're going to need us. It's a beautiful thing to watch unfold. They try to play catch up, but they just don't have the technology. They don't have the minds. They don't have the learning curve. And they're behind the ball, so to speak, especially in the West, because they never thought that they were going to get pressed by the BRICS nations like they have been. So now they're forced into a situation where they must advance when before they had all the power and they didn't have to advance. Well, things change when you're forced into a position and you're rapidly losing influence and power. And they are, greatly so. Let's continue here with this article. And it's titled, Bank of England could deepen UK recession if it raises rates further. Haven't I been saying this for a long time? They're going to raise the rates. They have to, when they do that, in order to bring down the inflation, they're going to have to crush the economy. That's what happens when you raise the rates. This is logical. We all know this. This is not a secret. But they can't stop because inflation is set to go higher if they take their foot off the gas. There's a lot of reasons for that. They must continue. They haven't even, they have to be more aggressive. You've heard people in the Fed discuss this also. Okay. I always felt that it should have been 100 basis points that the percentage was raised. If they take the foot off that gas, my goodness. Well, let's read this little tidbit here. The Bank of England's newest interest rate setter, Swati Dhingra, said on Wednesday that the British central bank could deepen an expected recession if it pushes up borrowing costs further. Quote, you could think of getting into a much deeper, much longer recession if rates continue to rise, because there is already a fairly sizable chunk of the previous rate rises that have got to take effect in terms of what they do to GDP. There is, quote, there is a risk of over tightening, but they haven't gotten there yet. We're talking about a risk like down the road. But as of right now, they haven't gotten to that point. but they have to do more. It says, and that's the thing I am worried about at this point. Dingra voted for a half percentage point increase in interest rates earlier this month. Most of her colleagues backed a 75 basis point hike. Yeah, at least keep it the same. You can't go down. At least keep it the same. This is why most of your colleagues backed a 75 basis point hike. I say go higher. Not just for Bank of England. I'm talking more so for the Fed, because I know whatever the Fed does, the BOE and a lot of others are going to do the same. You just follow whatever the Fed does, the United States Fed. But most of your colleagues are thinking that way, as am I, because inflation must be tackled now. If you don't, you have a problem on your hands, and you're not looking at all the catalysts. Respectfully, I say that, sir. Now, let's continue on here. So, then you have this article here. Canadian dollar firms near 8-week high. Of course. The Canadian dollar traded at $1.33 per USD, hovering close to the 8-week high of $1.32 hit on November 11th, as the fresh CPI print showed that inflation has stopped or is slowing, suggesting that the Bank of Canada will continue to raise interest rates. They'll have to. But anytime the dollar, listen, when the dollar comes down or the dollar is stagnant for a bit of time, then all the other currencies can thrive. When the dollar is strong, they get crushed. That's just the way that it goes. So I expected this. Let's move on here to another article. Oh man, Goldman Sachs has been in the news, and not for good things at all. Goldman says layoffs are not an indicator of recession. What? There's been mass layoffs. Yeah, that's an indicator of deceleration. I mean, if you're trying to be technical, you can go right past recession. Deceleration. That's what it's been. Let's read this here. U.S. equity index futures dip modestly. NASDAQ 100 off 0.4%. Euro stocks STOXX 600 index falls 0.7%. Dollar slips. Gold flat. Crude. Bitcoin decline 2%. U.S. 10-year Treasury yields fall 3.73%. It says Goldman says layoffs are not an indicator of recession. Goldman Sachs says recent layoffs at tech giants like Twitter. These are just a few. Twitter, Meta, and likely Amazon do not indicate an impending recession. Goldman. There's been mass layoffs at a lot of companies. We've been covering it on this channel since the summer. Thousands upon thousands of workers getting laid off all over the place. So maybe you know that and you understand that technically that's deceleration. What does deceleration take you into? Because it's not a recession. I mean, the political entities are so delusional. They don't even want to say recession, but what's really possible to come, is a depression because of deceleration. We'll keep an eye on it, but that's really what's possible. And why do I say that? Because all of this is happening in conjunction with the de-dollarization of the world. You understand that, right? Everyone out there, you understand that. That we're not just talking about this in an isolated way, but we have to think about it in conjunction with and parallel to the de-dollarization of everything. That's going to have a massive effect on the West. That's going to have a massive effect on the United States, which everything that happens to the United States affects the rest of the West for whatever reasons. So, yes, it can go right past recession and into a depression. Look, the West will do well to watch what the BRICS nations is going to be doing in the upcoming years. And by the West, I don't mean the political entities. I mean the people of the West. If they don't want to suffer, I would think that if they are wise, they will take precautionary measures. Because if that dollar is devastated the way that it can be, they've already been dumping dollars. The petrodollar is being attacked from both sides, from within the West, because they've been crushing their oil industries. And the BRICS is like, hey, well, we're gonna come up with a a reserve currency that's not the dollar, and we're going to back it with gold or something like that. Listen. So that's why I say that. It can go. Deceleration has already begun. My humble opinion. I could be wrong. People can disagree. That's perfectly fine. No problem. But if I'm right, yeah, recession is the least of your concerns. And yes, layoffs are an indicator of very, very bad times coming up, and that things need to change dramatically. That's my opinion. This article is titled Gold Price Forecast. XAUUSD bears are moving in at key resistance. Gold is hanging on a thread, right? Wow, why did it? I guess it generates more views to be more dramatic. I guess I get that. Gold is hanging on a thread as the US dollar catches a corrective bid. Second bullet point, gold is meeting resistance in the backside of a key trend line. The gold price has stalled on the bid in Tokyo, falling by 0.10% at the time of writing. XAUUSD has fallen from a high of $1,781.48 to a low of $1,775.97, capped within a potential ceiling of the recent bullish correction. The yellow metal did perk up on the back of rising geopolitical risks and a weaker US dollar. Like I said, when the dollar is weak, everything else can rise. When the dollar is strong, it crushes everything. We all know this very well from the start of the session. All right, so I don't think that's anything to be concerned about whatsoever at all. It seems like the typical activity that we've been seeing, in my humble opinion. So now we have this article here, and it's titled, Looking at Occidental Petroleum's Recent Unusual Options Activity. Let's scroll down here, see what's going on. So many strange things going on in the world, isn't it? Crazy time, man, crazy time. And it says, someone with a lot of money to spend has been taking a bearish stance on Occidental Petroleum, OXY. And retail traders should know. We noticed this today when the big position showed up on publicly available options history that we track here at Benzinga. Whether this is an institution or just a wealthy individual, we don't know. But when something this big happens with Oxy, it often means somebody knows something is about to happen. I agree. Today, Benzinga options scanner spotted 47 uncommon options trades for Occidental Petroleum. This isn't normal. The overall sentiment of these big money traders is split between 48% bullish and 51% bearish. Out of all the special options we uncovered, 14 are puts for a total amount of $1,547,480, and 33 are calls for a total of $4,197,163. Yeah. So anyway, now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? Strange times we live in. Exciting times, though. So, until next time, let's get to the money.